the road to victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and thank you for taking the time today because, well, I've got a very special guest in house tonight, and this is one badass dude, Mr. Gabe Rangel. Gabe, thanks for taking the time tonight, man.
Hey man, I'll tell you what. I don't know how to read those Roman numerals. They're, the LV2 thing. Never knew how to. I knew my X's and V's, but after that, couldn't read the whole 50, 60. Once it starts getting to those numbers, I had to Google what number Super Bowl this was.
Yeah, because of this Eagles team, they have allowed me to learn Roman numerals myself. So great job. They keep winning. We'll keep learning.
Hey, I love it. I'm with it.
My man, Gabe. But look, dude, it is a pleasure to have you here on the show. We are all very grateful for you taking the time. You are actually in Arizona right now as we speak, getting these guys ready. I mean, how was your trip, dude?
Man, I'll tell you what. I'm from California, as we've talked about before, but we got stuck on the tarmac for 2 hours. They didn't let us off the plane. Then they finally deplaned. They had to send a picture of a scratch on the engine to Oklahoma, which is like the engine manufacturer, make sure it's okay. They deplaned us, then like 2 minutes turned us around, got us back on the plane. So it was altogether about a 9-hour voyage out here to Phoenix, Arizona.
Of course. Couldn't just have an easy ride, could you? But you're there. You're safe.
Your fellow Philadelphians, they had lots of, ideas and theories that the captain was actually a Chiefs fan.
And I bet they did.
They heckled them. We had some Eagles chants. It was a good time.
That's awesome. You had some of the WIP callers in there calling in with their theories. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. But we're glad you made it. We're glad you are taking the time. What is up to everybody in the chat? Thank you for taking the time, guys. Look, you had mentioned it, last time we talked about it, man. And if you guys missed it, before last season, Gabe gave us the honor of coming on here and gave us a little tour of that bro barn. And for anybody who doesn't know, Gabe is the head trainer there. He is the personal trainer of Lane Johnson. And man, you told some pretty amazing stories last time. I mean, you 1-2'd me. So I didn't know these stories were going to come at me. You're telling me Jay Glazer and you, Brian Urlacher involved. You're opening a gym in LA. That's the first time you met Lane Johnson with Chip Kelly. So we had to give some props to Chip a little bit, but we gave him more to Jay. But dude, you have put in nothing but time for this Eagles team since then. And I really just wanted to get you back on because, man, you said some pretty exciting things the last time. And, when I say this dude's a badass, man, let me tell you, he talked about, how he is a black belt. This is, first off, thank you for your service. This dude is one bad man. He plane jumper, the POW school. I mean, you have done some of the things that Marines, most of them don't do. You're a 1%er there. And we appreciate your service, man. We thank you. But man, I was literally ready to jump through a wall. You're helping me get through waiting for the Super Bowl because, dude, having you on. Okay, let's backtrack and let's talk about it. You talked about the last time. I'm going to give you your props here. I asked you about Nick Sirianni, okay? And you told me a lot of excitement for this young man. Even though people were upset about the press conferences, you told me this guy, he's a teacher and he resonates with these players. Something you told us, Lane, told you it was a little different. He could ask him anything. This guy was there to help. So in that moment, you told us, could this guy be the next Andy Reid? And Gabe, we're about to play Andy Reid in the Super Bowl a year later. What are your thoughts now on Nick Sirianni and how far he's brought this team in just that short amount of time?
I mean, he's a leader, man. It's when you have a job, it's not to be the best at whatever to encompass everything as a large, but it's just to focus on your small piece of it. And if everybody kind of focuses on their small piece, us as a whole will do good. And Coach Sirianni has been able to encompass that. He has a lot of talent on his roster, and he's been able to kind of mold it into wins. It's incredible. And if you talk to anybody on the team, like obviously he's our coach of the year, and he's a big piece of why they've had success. And I think he's done a great job.
And you talk about the togetherness, the brotherhood. That is something that I wanted to bring you on the show for last year, because as much as, the Eagles got snubbed on awards last night, I think there should be an award for the most badass trainer, and it should go to you because the things you do for these guys really, I feel, goes, and it doesn't go unappreciated by them, but I don't think people truly understand what it is that you do for these guys. And, Lane Johnson, obviously, the story you talked about last time, I mean, you used to work for Maroon 5. I mean, you've worked with P. Diddy, LaShawn McCoy, Marshawn Lynch. I mean, MMA fighters, you've done it all. But the best story is the Maroon 5 story, where Lane has to go party with the singer from Maroon 5 and explain to him why he needs you. You, with your 2.5-week-old child, decide you're going to move to Philadelphia from California. I mean, wow, that in itself, that goes to tell us your dedication, right? And Lane talked about your dedication. You're never late. You're always dependable. But I would like you to talk about a little bit, for anyone that missed that, your relationship with him, because you're not just his personal trainer. And we all know Lane is very open about his mental health stuff that he has going on. And man, you have been there for him, not only on the field, but off the field. He has said at times, almost a personal assistant, and dude, you're a great friend. That's what really it means to me. And I feel like with you being here, you have really helped that unit as a whole, a cohesive unit. So what is it like feeling like a leader of men, leading those guys, throughout this season, man?
Man, it's you don't look at it like it's like anybody. You go to work every day and you just kind of accomplish one thing at a time, and you don't look at it as like a whole of where it's going to lead. Like, we do our jobs no matter what. If we were, 4-13 or whatever, the record would be if we didn't have a great season, like, you're still going to do your job. So you never know what the outcome's going to be, but all you can do is hope. And especially when you have this like kind of close relationship with all these guys, you want them to do the best they can, just like any of your own friends. Like, everybody says you are who you hang at, the summation of the 5 people you hang out with, right? So we just try to be good influences on each other. Like, all these guys push each other. It doesn't matter if it's a backup guy. We have college kids working out with us. Like, Lane's pushing them, they're pushing Lane. Like, it's just kind of like a camaraderie and a brotherhood that everybody's kind of chipping in. Everybody looks at each other as a brother. So if Lane's not having a good day, no one's having a good day. If one of our other guys isn't having a good day, no one's having a good day. So it's easy now that we talk about it to look at it like that as like a leadership thing, but you're just kind of like looking after your brother and just being like, hey man, like, let's get through this together. Like, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to make sure that it's a positive end result. And obviously it's been great with the success as a team, but Lane's done so well with all that stuff on and off the field this year. And again, it's a summation on not just my work, but his work and all his teammates' work and everything that he puts into it. So it's been a great year for that.
And you can just tell the way you talk, the way you always give, credit to everyone, that military training, you are, bro, you're the man. And I cannot stress that enough. Anybody who has not tuned into all of the interviews he's been getting this off season, please go check them out on CBS, everywhere. He's been doing his thing. I know John Clark did something with you last year. Go check out the interview I have with him. He literally walks around the Bro Barn and shows us, talks about the hyperbaric chambers, all the stuff you have going on there. And dude, it just goes to show Lane Johnson's dedication, bringing in a personal trainer. And you said, making you an offer you couldn't refuse to come move halfway, or not halfway, all the way across the country and, set up shop here with your family. And dude, you're doing great things with him. And we can't thank you enough, because I said it to you when things obviously started happening at the end of the season. And I reached out to you and I wanted to know, please, for the love of God, is there hope here? And find out that this dude named Lane Johnson is actually going to put off surgery and play through the playoffs. So you need to come out right now, Gabe, and just spill the beans. How in the hell do you have Lane Johnson prepared to play right now? And how is he still body bagging these dudes on the field, not giving up pressures, not giving up sacks? It's almost as if this dude is just 100%. What are you doing, man?
Hey, that I don't even know what I'm doing. We're doing the best we can, and we're trying to get him going. But Lane is, the guy he's going to have surgery with is the same guy that did Nick Bosa's and Joey Bosa. And Joey just had the same surgery 9-10 weeks ago. He came back for that playoff game. It was his first game back, and the surgery is 8 weeks. And so when we did the calculations, when he got hurt in that Cowboys game, it was 8 weeks till today. Or no, not, it was 7.5 weeks till today. So we wouldn't have been ready in time for the Super Bowl. So we had a lot of conversations with the doctors, and we're like, I mean, of course, the first thing is safety. Is like, is this going to be something that's going to jeopardize the rest of his career? And just as a human, like, is this going to jeopardize who he is? Like, is this like a life and death situation? And we talked all those things out, and there was like an incredible team of medical professionals that came up with the decision, like, yeah, let's give it a go. And what Lane's doing, like, I'm telling you right now, the Boses asked the doctor about it, and they're like, how is Lane? Like, they've both been through this shit, and they're like, how is, like, they were questioning, how the heck is Lane doing this? We all were. We work on him. We make sure, we have a bunch of stuff to make sure he's good, like strengthening stuff around him, making him sure he's mobile, but nobody knows what Lane's doing. And it's Hall of Fame stuff. And we joke and call him the GOAT all the time, but it's, what he's doing right now is unbelievable. You shut down the defensive player of the year like you are with literally a torn, his adductor is torn off his bone. So it's just like, all of us, if I pull a groin, or if I even tweak my groin, I'm like walking around like a baby. This guy tore it off the bone, and he's out there just, handcuffing the defensive player of the year. So I don't even know what he's just in another realm right now. And all the offensive linemen laugh at it. They're just like, we have guys that are fully healthy, can't do what Lane's doing on one leg. Like, Lane, what he's doing on one leg is so far superior than what other guys are doing on other teams fully healthy. So I don't know how he's doing what he's doing, but the doctors were blown away. Other players who've had the same injury are blown away. Cam Jordan had the same injury. He reached out. He's like, good luck, buddy. And then he played, and Cam reached back out like, what are you doing? Like, everybody's just like fascinated. So I mean, honestly, it's just fun to sit back. It's like a dang movie that you get to watch and sit back in the seat, and he's doing his damn thing. It's awesome.
Well, you're not going to do it, but I'll do it. I'm going to give you that credit, because you having him in that shape and doing things to allow him to be able to, like you said, what most people, even NFL players, aren't able to do. And, you talk about, he went against the defensive player of the year, 0 quarterback hits, 0 quarterback pressures, 0 sacks. I mean, nothing. That's insane. And you talk about, would other players be able to do that? I heard, when the decision was made, and you threw me the term, we're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. And I love that about you, man. You're going to do whatever it takes. And I know Lane was going to do the same. So I was confident, but I kept hearing things, is it worth it? Is he even going to be the same guy? Yeah, he's obviously on another level, and it's due to you, because I was there. I got to go to an all-season practice with you, and let me tell you something. We sat there, and we obviously, it was one of the most fun times I've ever had, getting to break things down with you, just standing there watching that practice. And, watching Lane, it was like, dude, what are you doing to him? Because he's going against Hassan Reddick. He's going against Josh Sweat out there. And, bro, you remember, I was like, I'm making a post right now about it. I'm tweeting it. This guy might be in the best shape of his effing life. And salute to you, dude, because, my God, he's playing right now at a time where he just shouldn't be. And wow. Yeah. So I'm excited to see him in this game. We'll talk about this game in a second here. But we talked about, your predictions on, Sirianni being a great coach, working together. But we talked about that key thing that was the head coach and quarterback. And I know everybody wants to hear about QB1, the guy that maybe in most minds should have won MVP as an Eagles fan base. But hey, Patrick Mahomes won it. Well deserved. That's fine. We're going to go win the thing that matters most. But one of the things you talked about with Jalen Hurts, man, you knew I was on board and needed to find someone that was working with him, was so confident in him. And boy, I found you. You came on here and you told a special story about, you were watching First Take, something like that. And they were on talking about Deshaun Watson and how the Eagles needed to trade for Deshaun Watson. And you went to turn off that TV, and Jalen told you, keep that on. That resonated with me. I remember hearing that story, be like, thank you. And I've been very confident in this young man, a lot due to you, because you told me stories. You told me about him going out there, and when he was done, first off, you told me he'd wake up at 5 a.m. when these guys are like just waking up. He's getting his first set done, like just a freak of nature when it comes to his work ethic, his diet. We talked to Justin, our guy over there, the chef at the Bro Barn, talked about how serious he is about everything. And People were sleeping on that development, man. And you talked about he's watching tape on Cunningham, McNabb, watching Vic, watching some of the old school greats of this Eagles, team. And he really was going, you said he was going to do everything in his power to become the best. And if anyone could do it, it was him. Boy, did you call that one, man? We're all, for here in this room here, big fans of Jalen Hurts. We were hopeful for his development, but how do you feel right now about this kid playing at an MVP level, taking his team to the Super Bowl in his second year as starter? Maybe you could throw in just what you've seen in his work ethic since then, man. What are your thoughts since the last time I talked to you before last season?
Man, it's funny. It's the same exact thoughts. He doesn't change. There's nothing that phases the kid. He could be the worst quarterback in the league right now, and his work ethic would still be the exact same. He's an early riser. He's a hard worker, and he's going to be the first in the building and the last out the building. And a lot of people do that. Some of them do it for show. Like Jalen does it with content. Like he's going to be there because he needs to be there. Like you hear about it in the media. They're like, it's a day off. What are you doing in here? And Jalen's not in there because he has to be in there. Like Jalen actually has a mission. He's like wakes up. He's like, I want to accomplish X, Y, or Z. And the guy does it. He everywhere he goes, he makes sure that he understands what it takes to be the best, and he gets it done. Like, I don't know. Like you all the stories you hear about Jalen are true. He's very cool, calm, and collected, and he understands what it's going to take to get any job done. And the accolades, like I feel like every player wants and needs, but that's not up to them. And he's good at like ensuring that he doesn't bring any of that stuff onto the field, I feel like. And we don't talk about it all the time. Like, oh, how do you feel when you lose an accolade or like you're not the best or you're not voted, whatever. Like Jalen doesn't care about that stuff in person. I'm sure he does. We're all human, I'm sure he does at some point, kind of dwell on that stuff because we're all just human. And you see the stuff like The Last Dance and Michael Jordan, how bad he just needed to be doubted so that it can fuel him. And I think that's a big part. I think honestly, that's what fuels Lane. Like he wants to know like, he wants to know Nick Bosa is the best. And he was like, all right, keep saying Nick Bosa is the best and that I'm hurt. I think like, again, we don't speak about these things. I just see it in them. And I just know, and I think Jalen's the same way. He's like, all right, call him the MVP. Let's see what happens Sunday. Like, I think every elite athlete, I don't care who it is, LeBron James, all those guys, like they all have that. Like it doesn't matter. Like all this, like everything that people build around is just what people build around. The players are going to go out there and play. Like they don't care who's on the team, But I think it's nerve-wracking too, because when you're a coach and any coach, I'm sure for Brian Johnson, for Shane, for all those guys, like you're not out on the field. You don't get to do anything, like you can't, it's nerve-wracking being a coach. And I don't think people realize that because you can't run on the field and tackle anybody. You can't run on the field and catch that ball or throw that ball. So it's on those guys. And I think that's where you understand trust and belief and stuff, because I'm not a football coach. I don't know the X's and O's. Like I have guesses on stuff, but I'm not a developmental. I'm not a scout. So I know how hard Jalen works, but I have other guys that work really hard who fail. And biasly, you want everyone to succeed just because they work hard, but that's not how this league works. Like talent, awareness, and skill sets in this game matter. And Jalen has all of those things. So not only does he have everyone talks about the intangibles, like he has the tangibles too. Like he has all the skill set to do well. And I think I first saw it in the Detroit game. I was so nervous because I've had this before. Like I've had Chris Long. When I had Chris Long all offseason one year, he was still playing in St. Louis, and I flew out to St. Louis for the game. First or third play of the game, he gets his peroneal tendon snapped. We worked all offseason, 5 months, day in and day out. Chris worked his ass off. In the third play of the game, his own player rolls up and snaps his tendon. Like it's a contact sport. You can't factor for that. This stuff happens. So when I first saw the Lions game, I remember sitting there and just like, it's real. Like it's happening. And that was like the first time it was just like, because you see it in practice. We saw the bombs in practice, but it's still practice. You don't care. Like you need to see it in the game, and you just become a fan at that point because all the work is done. It's all on the field now. And Jay's always he's proved himself every game, game in and game out. So it's just like, it's fascinating to me because I'm just become a fan at that point. And I just talked to Jalen last night, and he's ready. He's ready. He's just like, he's not faced. He's just like sitting there like, let's get it done. Like, I think this is a big media week for all these guys. So the beginning of the week, they're kind of like not even home. They're like, all right, I've answered the same question 52 times. Like, come on, like let's move on. And now there's no more media, so they're locked in, ready to rock.
Yeah, you actually just joined us from working on Lane. I mean, this guy's in the heart of it here, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I want to thank you, Justin, in the chat. A little stud in there. We appreciate you taking the time. But dude, let's be real here. It's incredible. And as much as you have faith in someone, you said it, when you actually start seeing it, that's when it's like, oh yeah, baby. And we all saw those picks. That's when a lot of people started asking, hey, isn't that guy you interviewed? I said, yes, it is, down at the Bro Barn. You were there. You've now got receivers, quarterbacks. I mean, you've got them all coming in there, dude. So you're doing something right there. And we got a great question here in the chat, and they're asking your opinion on the Eagles their training staff being able to keep this team healthy this year. It's rare to have 22 starters. So one of the things you talked about in that first episode we talked was how Lane brought you in. And it wasn't a knock on the staff or anything. You just thought maybe he needed some extra work. But this staff seems to be knowing what they're doing. So great question by Lonely B here in the chat. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to staff. Like Tom Hunkel is our head of medical, and Ted Rath is our head of performance. And they've done such a great job, and it's kudos to them for sure. But I think that other thing is Coach Sirianni. He set up a schedule that a lot of people had a lot of criticism on, like the days off and all that. I don't think, like, we talked to John Runyon Sr., and we talked to Ike. We talked to all the old school guys, and they're like, it didn't used to be like this. And they might say one thing, but when we talk to them on the side, like, these guys are bigger, faster, and stronger than those guys ever could have imagined. Like, there's no guy that was 330 pounds with a six-pack. It didn't exist. Like, Lane is such a freak. These guys are all such freaks now. Like, it's insane. And I think they truly understood the value of rest. Like, when you work out, you don't build muscle. It's when you sleep and recover. So when you're running into people, like they have the statistics, you get into 22 car accidents or something when you go to a game. All of us get into one car accident. We're out for like a month, right? Well, they get into 22 of those every week, and then they have to get ready to go get into more car accidents. Like, all right, put my seatbelt on. We're getting to another one. So the old school coaching, like, Doug was awesome. He's doing great things, but he had that old school thought, and it was just like, hey, we're going to grind these practices out. And I think Sirianni truly valued and listened to the data. And the data was like, hey, if you let these guys rest, you're going to have more player availability. Well, other things sacrifice, like time on the field, for sure. But that has to be your skill set as a coach and an art of coach to make those practices valuable in the short time that you want it. Like, hey, we're going to hit it. And we're going to hit it hard. But when it's time to rest, it's time to rest. So I think all that stuff, again, medical staff and performance staff did such a good job, and they deserve all the kudos. But I think Coach Sirianni deserves a lot on that, because he gave these guys rest. Like, they wanted rest. He gave it to them. He gave them Monday, Tuesdays off almost every week. And again, victory Monday, because we won, but so we had a lot of wins. So it was a lot easier to give those Mondays off. But again, like, I think that's a big thing. Like, you see, and it's not crazy. You look at the teams that don't do those days off, they didn't have the best records. And I get it. Like, there's hard-nosed guys, and they think that's how they get across, and you got to set a new culture. And it takes a while to get to where the Eagles are at. But I think it's a lot of credit goes to Sirianni and probably the front office too. It's not just his decision. Like, he has to get it okay by Howie and the big man. So, hats off to all of them coming together and understanding that the value of rest.
And you said the same exact thing to me, because I remember reaching out to you this offseason, and there was, as you had said, a lot of people feeling a certain way about it. And, I asked you, I was like, I want your honest opinion. You said the same exact thing, man. These guys are literally a different breed. And, that's great, your mindset. And it's the same kind of thing with this defense. Oh, you want to blitz every play. Like, well, man, this isn't the NFL 20 years ago. Like, I understand your mindset is stuck there, but you literally told me, and it's great to have you back, because you literally sat here on this show and told us, because of Nick Sirianni, like, we were going against the Lions week 1. You got to see yin and yang there. They were going hard as hell in their practices. At the end of the season, they got 20 guys on IR. We're in the Super Bowl still playing, and we have all of our starters here. And we've got like 6 or 7 guys on IR, but they're depth pieces. And that's incredible, man. So big shout out to Sirianni, and big shout out to all the guys, man. All the guys you're working with there, because, without them having the drive to do that, obviously you're there pushing them. And you talk about it, dude. You push him and you know how far you can, but you also know when to reel him back. And I think you've obviously probably had to do that with Lane here the last few weeks because the dude, he's just a train that you're not going to stop. So I really can't thank you enough for having him ready and hopefully getting this second ring here. Now, you're there, man, and you're feeling the vibes around. I want to know now, what are your vibes? I mean, how are you feeling about this game against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday?
I mean, dude, I was more nervous, I feel like, last week, and the team just keeps coming through, man. It just, when you go to it, like, I don't think a lot of people don't realize, like, Lane doesn't look at this game like I'm playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Lane's like, I'm playing Frank Clark. Lane's like, I'm playing Chris Jones. Like, they have one-on-one matchups and a lot of them. And like the Jalen's and the safeties, like they have a lot more broad view, but like a lot of guys are one-on-one matchups and they understand those one-on-one matchups. And when they go to their room, they know so much about that other player because it's to tape and film. And I think that's where it matters why your roster is so much better. When people are like, oh, hey, your roster is better. The roster matters because if you win all those one-on-one matchups, it's going to be a favorable result. So that's when everyone says, hey, just do your job. If everyone does their job, this team, I think, is going to take care of business and get that win. And that makes me feel better. It's just like, at the end of the day, I'm not on the field, so I try not to like let it get me too crazy. But I drove by the stadium earlier today, and I think it was like the first time of the week. I was like, oh man, like it was like any other week though, because I mean, I usually don't come out this early, but when you go to away games, it's not really real until like Friday night, like you're going to bed, or Saturday, you're going to bed. And I was like, I saw the stadium and saw all the buildup. And like you turn it on ESPN and they're just talking about every single guy. You're like, damn, like this is real. Like this is actually happening. Guys train their whole lives for this stuff. So I think it sent some chills down mine. And I think a lot of guys are actually starting to feel it. Everybody's family's rolling in. So, hey, that's a whole nother dynamic. Both Chiefs and the Eagles. Let me tell you something. These guys' families are coming in, bringing them some BS, and these guys are just trying to put shielders on. Like, hey, man, let me win this Super Bowl, then we'll deal with this family stuff later. Fact. So that's a fun little dynamic everyone deals with. But yeah, Matt, these guys are ready. They're ready to rock.
Love to hear that. So what's tomorrow going to be like? What are you going to be doing with Lane, and how are you getting him ready for the game?
So they flew in. Okay, so the Eagles were practicing at for the Cardinals facility, and the Chiefs are using ASU. So they actually grow the grass, I think, in Vegas, and then they flew the grass in this week. It's crazy stuff because a lot of the guys, just to let you know, the guys did not like the Cardinals field. They grow it outside and they reel it back in. A lot of the players didn't like the grass. They were like, it's just, I mean, everyone likes grass overall because it's safer and it's better.
Yeah.
But that specific grass, they were like, oh, it's so slippery. When we played the Cardinals the first time, I know Josh Sweat was telling us last night, he was like, I didn't like it. It just was kind of slip. Well, we found, I didn't even know this, but they grow them in Vegas and then they bring them in. And then like, I guess the Eagles equipment, all the guys come together and they decide which one's the best one. So then they flew that in. I have no idea how, in sods and whatever they made that. So that field just got installed Wednesday and rolled out. And then the kickers for the Eagles and the Chiefs went today. And they were the first ones that get to feel it. The other two backup fields, one went to ASU, one went to the Cardinals. So they got to see that field. So tomorrow the Eagles have walkthrough. The Chiefs aren't doing a walkthrough. So they're not going to even get on the field. I don't know why, but Andy's Andy and he just does whatever he wants to do. But so the Eagles will get on the field tomorrow. So they'll have a walkthrough and then it's rocking time. Like they pretty much will be on an early curfew, ready to rock and lock down and get ready for some of them the biggest moment of their life, others the second biggest moment. But in the moment, I'm pretty sure it's the biggest moment.
Man, I can't imagine how they feel because my hands were getting sweaty just you talking about the walkthroughs. I'm like, oh my God, it is so close.
It is.
Oh, Gabe. Well, I know that you are a busy man. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time tonight, dude. Look at you. And you
got to see this view real quick.
Yes. Gabe always hooking us up with the great look at that. Oh, yeah. You enjoy yourself, Gabe. Look at that beautiful view.
That's where it's going down. That's where the wind's happening.
Let's go. Love it, dude. And Again, man, thank you, and cannot wait to have you on the show again. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all your work with the Eagles players. But I want to give you this time, if you have any final words, this is your time.
Hey, keep it basic. Let's keep it basic. Let's just win this damn game. That's all I want is a goddamn win.
Brilliant in the basics, right? That is your saying?
Yes, sir.
That is something I love and I try to live by now. You are a motivational man. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for taking the time, tuning in tonight with your questions, comments. You're watching this later. Feel free to let us know how you feel about this game. Have any questions for Gabe? Feel free. Look, guys, let's get excited. We are 2 sleeps away from the Super Bowl. So, Gabe, thank you, man. Hope you have a great night, a great rest of your weekend. Let's go win this damn thing. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone. And as always, go Birds!
Go Birds!